Welcome back to Mortgage Giants. I'm tall, he's taller. Let's talk mortgages. Today, we're going to be doing a little bit of reacting to some bad advice.
I love overreacting. I rarely have subtle reactions to anything in life, so this is good for me. I haven't seen these.
Yeah, and if you think they're as bad as I think they are, you're going to have some things to say about
So you've
it.
collected these over TikTok and stuff recently?
Yeah, like this just popped up on my feed. People
Yeah.
talking about real estate or making money, and like, no.
Okay.
So-
I like this. Okay.
okay.
Buy 10 rental houses before you're 30 years old. If you can buy 10 rental houses before you're 30 and you own those 10 rental houses at the age of 30 and you don't buy another piece of real estate for the next 25 years, when you're 55, more than likely, all of those properties are going to be paid for. And if let's just say you still have a balance on all 10 because you put them on 30-year notes, you can sell off more than likely 2 or 3 and pay the rest off. So now you're sitting there with 7 homes paid for that you have tenants in and you have cash flow coming in every month. So think about that. If you literally had 7 rental properties making you $2,000 a month, that's $14,000 a month. That's called financial freedom.
At 30, buying 10 rental houses in this market.
I completely agree with them. We should all be doing that.
The way how he talks so cavalier about every 30-year-old out there better have 10 rental properties.
Like, that guy is so disconnected from reality right now because everything in the news is just talking about how people in their 30s are not even buying one. We can't get one.
Yeah, you can't buy a primary.
Yeah.
Let alone 10 rentals.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just tone deaf. That's just, there's that's the 0.1% that might, ring true for. But come on.
Or in the 80s.
So, and then just you can buy a primary house for 5% down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Everything beyond that, 20% down. So if you're talking, and what's the average price? You want to be a slumlord? Those?
Yeah.
He's not. That's not even slumlord pricing. He's talking about. You're buying an average house.
Yeah.
$400,000. That's like entry level starter home.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 80,000 times 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all 30-year-olds I know have $750,000 just ready to go.
Ready to go, waiting for the houses to pop up.
Oh, man. Yeah. Awesome. Good job, Santa.
You want to retire with $10,000 a month at age 60. You got to look in your bank account and have 3.5 million. Or you just listen to what Austin and I are talking about. Go buy 10 Airbnbs and boom, you're done. You go buy 2 apartment buildings, boom, you're done. And I guarantee if you put your energy towards it, within 2 years, you can have an apartment building and you're free.
Yeah.
Also, it's not like these properties are popping up all over the place.
Yeah. Well, and let's just focus on the Airbnb. Literally, look at what's happened to Airbnb in Canada. Provincial governments have completely outlawed Airbnbs. So that is a massive situation for people right now owning properties in Canada. That plan right now is not feasible. And then just go buy an apartment building. Sure. What do you do? How do you answer that?
Yeah.
Because in theory, I would love to own an apartment building.
But what sucks is if these people are doing so good and they're giving this advice, people buy into it.
Yeah.
But
that reminds me of these are the people that always go online and just talk about OPM. You just got to OPM other people's money, right? So you want to go and get other people's money, you're going to invest and get funds from them, and then get a property under a corporation, and then refinance it, and then pull that money out and go buy another one. It's that's a pyramid scheme, or just straight up, fraud.
Yeah.
Also in Canada right now, we have a lot of people in the industry that maybe built up a reputation, started to collect investment from family, friends, business associates, in the tens of millions of dollars, and are now living somewhere in Mexico or on the lam in some unknown country.
Right.
Total scams.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one too.
Yeah.
Like, and we're talking about commercial financing and stuff, which is a whole other beast.
Yeah.
When you get into multifamily or apartment buildings.
Yeah, exactly. Way more in depth. You got to prove way more stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So you're a local, trades guy. You've been working hard. You do have a little bit of money saved up. You've done well. You've gotten some inheritance. There is some money there. You just want to go and get into property management, like an apartment building, property management, like that. That's a business that people are licensed in. That's a whole beast.
Yeah.
Probably
People
not
do
for
that
everybody.
for a living.
Probably not for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
This is why you should never buy a home. When I moved to Miami, this is 13 years ago, I sold my home in Los Angeles. I took all the equity out of my home, used the equity not to buy a house. I rented, and I took the equity and bought apartments. The apartments provided me with about $500,000 in income a year, $40,000 a month, and I rented for $18,000 a month. I was net positive $22,000 a month because I made a decision not to own a home, but to own apartments and live in an apartment. The equity when I came out of California was $12 million, and it actually paid $1.2 million a year. You ever met anybody who became a billionaire buying a house? I don't think so. It's a liability. It's not an asset.
Like, yeah, that's. I will say that there are times, and there definitely are markets where owning a home is not the best decision, and it might not be the best decision for the financial, or the family's financial situation.
Yeah.
But right now, like we're seeing rents. Like last year, mortgages climbed quicker than rents did, and now rents are catching up.
Yeah.
So there was a period of time where people might have, made sense for them to sit in the rental market.
Yeah.
But not everybody's cashing out of California at $12 million and buying an asset. He didn't talk about financing. There were in that equation.
Yeah.
He was not financing an apartment building. He was paying cash.
Yeah.
So that's again such a unique situation.
But also, like, some people want a home and don't want to have an apartment building.
Yeah.
And the home long term still can be an asset for them.
Yeah, apartments and multifamily, like there are things about them that I truthfully do like. And as soon as you get above like 5 doors, 5 units, it's considered multifamily.
Yeah.
It reduces your risk. So like vacancy, like if one unit is out, 4 are still generating revenue,
Right.
and like there's stability
covered,
there, and I do like that. But again, people that just want to buy an apartment building with cash and your life's going to be great.
Yeah.
That's just sure.
Yeah. Like, who is this advice for? It's for a very specific.
It's for him. It's for that person to
Right.
flex on camera and talk about how, the house that they inherited from mom and dad, they sold, cashed out, and are doing just fine. So congratulations.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll sell out a lot of real estate seminars in the future. So
Yeah.
A house is a terrible, terrible investment, and I own 2 of them. Homes going forward over the next 30 years will prove to be an even worse investment than the last 30 years.
But you would still invest in real estate.
Oh, 100%. Real estate that has cash flow and tenants in the properties. That comes with the maximum number of tax benefits, passive income that people need forever, and big depreciation, as well as long-term appreciation. Now, the audience is going to say, but where am I going to live? You're going to rent. You're going to rent where you live, and you're going to take the money that you would normally use to buy a house, and you're going to use that to build yourself, build your business, or invest in other real estate that pays you income. So my advice to all young people, never buy a home ever. Until you're super wealthy, then you buy a home. Till then, invest in yourself, invest in your business, and invest in real estate that cash flows.
Just like to say that a house is a terrible investment, like never buy one, and try and be an entrepreneur and like have all this cash flowing, like it doesn't fit for most people.
No, that is true. And what I think is left out from that equation is that I would just say, don't buy a property beyond your needs or your means.
Yeah.
If you can live in a home that is absolutely adequate for number of bedrooms you need, and within a reasonable commute to work, that's a different story than a lot of people in North America are doing right now, and that's really trying to max out and leverage themselves where there is nothing left over to invest in yourself and
Yeah.
invest for future rental properties or invest in just general retirement savings.
Yeah.
So if your primary home is absolutely taking up all of your capital,
Hmm.
that is probably not a great situation. And I would agree to a portion of that. But real estate investing is a small percentage of the population, and the government seems to be always trying to put the squeeze on that
Hmm.
percentage of population. They're trying to promote home ownership for personal use.
Yeah.
So I think that appreciation in real estate is a forced savings plan. You have to live somewhere, and if you are paying a mortgage down, you will be building an asset, because there's a lot of people that just cannot save through bad habits, just personality.
Yeah.
It's hard. It is very hard for a lot of people. So at least you can feel good about paying down a mortgage and
Yeah.
having an asset at retirement.
Yeah.
We see a lot of people that don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that come with stability to owning a house. You can't be evicted. There's a lot of people right now that are being evicted because they know if they can evict that person, they can bring in a new tenant at a higher rate.
Yeah.
So you have kids now, and you're always going to have that risk of your landlord wanting to sell that asset to further their own personal agenda.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel a little bit out of control.
Yeah.
Of your family and their stability.
Yeah.
So how do I put a value on that?
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
Yeah. And if it's not forced eviction, you could be looking at giant increases in rent that make you house poor to the point where you can't get ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of that. But I would just say, if you can find a house in your community that you want to be in at a price that suits your, a budget that leaves a little bit left over, you won't move me off that.
Yeah.
Opinion of being, that's a great decision versus being subjective to a landlord's decision and personal needs that are so far out of your control.
Yeah.
If I only had $5,000, if I was down to my last $5,000, I know exactly what I would do, but I ain't gonna tell you. Let me tell you, okay? I would take that $5,000 with the new FHA laws. I would buy a $100,000 piece of real estate, live in one unit, rent the other 3 out, have negative impact on my income. I would live there for free. At the end of 12 months, I would move out, rent 4 units, have positive cash flow, raise the rents $200, and make myself probably $200,000 on this $5,000.
This guy is living in lunacy, though. Like, where are you buying a property that cheap?
Florida. Like there are parts. He's an American.
Yes, he's obviously an American, but you're buying a 4-unit complex for $100,000.
Yeah. So let's multiply that. Like, let's say he had his last $100,000.
Yeah.
So now you're maybe buying a $500,000 property. Like, again, you must be a single person.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to move your family into a slum lord type situation.
Yeah.
But like, an experience that we've seen recently is, like, there are some young people here that can take that same logic, build a suited duplex.
Yeah.
But those are like $600,000, $700,000 here.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can do that. You can live in one of the upper units, rent out the other 3. Absolutely awesome. Especially if you're a young person, you don't need the privacy. You're fine sharing the party wall, lots of cars in your driveway.
Yeah.
Street parking sucks.
Yeah.
That's the time to do it, is when you're young.
For sure.
Yeah. Do it when you're young. Get that suited duplex or suited single family or, detached house. Live in it, be inconvenienced with roommates and tenants for a few years, and then convert it to a full rental later in life.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
But his pricing is so hard to relate to. I mean, even an older 70s raised bungalow with legal suite, I mean, those are still in the mid 4s, 500,000.
Yeah.
So, and again, minimum down payment on that, if you are going to live and occupy one of those suites, is still going to be $25,000, $30,000.
Yeah. But then you also need to have the income to qualify.
Sure.
And
you need $100,000 in income.
Yeah. So
yeah. Yeah. So it's the HGTV effect.
Yeah.
We all watch it, right? Like, it's always on. My dad has his favorite show. So it's not just like one demographic.
Yeah.
We all watch this stuff and are inundated with American markets.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. You know, you look at houses that border are like within 20 kilometers of the Canadian border and 20 kilometers of the south of that same border, and the house pricing, it's different.
Yeah.
Like it is so like opposite. What's 600,000 in Ontario is 225 in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Like it's wild. And they're likely the same person. They're probably, you know, if they're a skilled laborer working in a factory or in the auto industry, different sides of the border.
Yeah.
They're the same guy, same girl.
Yeah.
You know, lifestyle wise and probably interest wise, and they love their sports teams and they love, you know, doing the lake thing on the weekend with friends. But yet their housing and their affordability is completely different. So it's just hard. It's hard to watch a lot of that stuff on TV and not get frustrated.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, now this one doesn't have to do with real estate, but this is just financial advice. And given that people are having a hard time qualifying, like income hasn't gone up enough to like match how much homes are and everything, this just is ridiculous.
Write a 1 and then write times 1 million. Now write 10 times 100,000. Now write 100 times 10,000. Now write 1,000 times 1,000. Now write 10,000 times 100. Now write 100,000 times 10, and then write 1 million times 1.
So I've got no idea where this is covering, but bear in mind the title for this was "This is how easy it is to make 1 million," and so far I'm not blown away.
This is how easy it is to make $1 million. Ask yourself this question. Do you have any product or service right now available to you that you could get one person, look at the top of that list, that you could get one person to give you $1 million for?
No.
Okay, go down. Cross that one out, by the way. Now go down. Do you have anything that you could sell 10 people for 100,000?
No.
Cross that out. Do you have anything where you could sell 100 people something for 10,000? Yes or no?
Yes.
You
Yes.
do? There's your fucking $1 million, bro.
Easy. Man, that guy, it's so easy.
It's so easy. Just boom, you've done it. Now
Yeah.
you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
It's just so cavalier and like in this situation, you're on a call with somebody. Like this isn't just talking to the camera for TikTok.
Yeah, and that guy's probably paying for that call too.
Yeah.
So people out there are looking for these types of characters. And yeah, that's real. That's real. I bet you that guy does a lot of those calls. But truthfully, that guy's probably so upside down on something. And
Yeah.
you know, don't trust that guy. It's the Ferrari effect. You know, whatever. You never trust the guy that drives that kind of
Right.
car.
Right.
Because all of your money is not going to what he's suggesting. It's actually like some stupid car payment,
Yeah.
you know, or
Yeah.
you know, the suits and the restaurants and the bottles of
Lifestyle,
wine. Yeah, it's
yeah.
all he's a lifestyle
Yeah.
type guy. That is funny. Yeah. I couldn't. That guy, he's a gem. I'm glad he's not on my feed.
Like, if I would have got given that advice in a private one-on-one meeting that I paid for, like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. That's hard to listen to. I feel bad for people that need that, fall into that kind of coaching trap.
Yeah, but so
Yeah, because like whenever I listen to that kind of advice, like if it is so successful, I feel like you just do it on your own, quietly, keep trucking and building your assets. And you know, why would you create that kind of competition in your market?
yeah.
You know, if you're so successful at it.
Or there's something shady going on about that type of business that you're doing.
And it's not likely as lucrative as they make it out to sound. That's why they're selling, you know, conferences and calls. That becomes their main source of income generation.
Yeah.
So I'm always, you know, you always want to be leery with those guys if it's so good.
Yeah.
If you have Midas touch, like
Yeah.
people generally don't sell out,
Yeah.
you know, stadiums on that. You're not actually generally trying to help people. You're just looking for an admission fee.
Yeah.
And I think that's just all that guy is.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of people willing to give their advice out there, and I just always, you know, what's their motivation?
Yeah.
Always try to figure out what their motivation is, and then you'll know where they're coming from. And is it to actually benefit you, or is it to benefit them?
Yeah. I saw two doctors talking on a video, and they made a good point of that. If somebody is so sure of something that seems so difficult, chances are they're probably wrong. And they related it to that if there's somebody in the medical field who says like, yes, guaranteed you do this, you're fine, or you do that, you're fine, they're not preaching the right thing because there's so much nuance that is like, well, this could affect that and that could work, but might not. Whereas this could work. And I feel like there's the same in this, like in general business.
Just like talking in absolutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And generally the people who are the smartest have a little bit of doubt because they're aware of the external factors that weigh on all of these situations.
Yeah. Truthfully, like, and if mortgages were so cookie cutter and so absolute and everything like A plus B equals C, you know, it would be a lot easier than it is today. But like the hundreds of files that come through my desk, across my desk every year, there are so few that are true of the same.
Very rarely.
Yeah. So to say that, you know, when people call too and they want to talk about rates and terms and everything, it's like, we will dig into that.
Yeah.
We will actually dig into that probably 2 or 3 times throughout this process because things change. And what's right today might not be right tomorrow and right prior to possession.
Yeah.
So it's about the process of discovery and making sure that knowing that things will change and evolve over time.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want something that's just like right today and right forever, because what is like that in life?
Yeah.
What's
Nothing.
right today that's right tomorrow, on and forever and ever.
Yeah. No.
So, yeah. Anyway, I think that you know, that person, that individual is just making his money off of preying off of admission and yeah. Anyway,
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.